Used to think debt was simple. If a country owes money, someone else must own it, a lender, a creditor, a powerful nation pulling the strings. But the deeper I looked, the stranger it became. Because the truth is, global debt isn't just owed to others. Much of it is owed to ourselves. Every year, headlines scream the same terrifying number: hundreds of trillions of dollars in global debt, governments drowning, economies on the edge, a ticking time bomb. But here's the question. Nobody asks, who actually holds all that debt? At first glance, the villains seem obvious: big institutions, shadowy organizations, global lenders. Names like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. They do lend billions to struggling countries, but they don't own most of the world's debt, not even close. So maybe it's powerful central banks, the Federal Reserve, the People's Bank of China. Surely they hold enormous power, and yes, they do buy government bonds, but again, they're not outside creditors. They're part of the same system. Then who? The answer is almost absurdly simple. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, investment funds, and ordinary citizens without even realizing it. Your retirement account, your savings, your insurance policy. All of it is quietly invested in government bonds. So when a government borrows money, it's often borrowing from its own people. Think about that. A country taxes its citizens and then borrows from the same citizens and promises to repay them with future taxes. It's a loop, a financial Mobius strip. Even foreign holdings aren't what they seem. Yes, countries lend to each other. China owns US debt. Japan owns US debt. The US owns debt from others. But these holdings are mostly stored as government bonds, safe assets used to stabilize currencies and trade, not weapons of control. And then there's a stranger layer still. Central banks can create money to buy government debt, money that didn't exist before. Institutions like the Bank for International Settlements coordinate global finance, but they don't secretly own the world. They manage the plumbing of the system. So where does the illusion come from? From the word debt itself. We imagine a struggling borrower and a powerful lender, but at the global level, debtor and creditor are often the same society, just wearing different hats. Governments issue bonds through agencies like the US Treasury. Banks buy them, funds buy them, citizens indirectly buy them, and the system keeps turning. Not because someone is winning, but because everyone depends on it continuing. Here's the real secret. Global debt isn't a chain held by a master. It's a web. Cut one strand and the whole structure trembles, because if governments stopped borrowing, banks would lose safe assets, pension funds would lose stability, financial markets would lose their foundation. Debt, paradoxically, is what keeps the system from collapsing. So who really owns global debt? Not one country, not one elite group, not some hidden cabal. We do through our savings, our institutions, our economies. And that realization is both comforting and unsettling, because it means there's no puppet master to blame, only a system we all participate in. A system built on trust, rolled forward into the future, one bond at a time. Once I understood that we largely owe the money unto ourselves, a more disturbing question appeared. If no one truly owns the debt, then who controls the system that creates it? Because debt isn't just a number. It shapes wars, elections, inflation, the price of bread, the future of entire generations, and behind it all sits a quiet machine, rarely seen, rarely explained. At the center of this machine are central banks, not commercial banks you walk into, but institutions that sit above them. The European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, others across the world operating in near silence. They don't compete, they don't advertise, and they don't answer to markets in the usual way. When crises hit, recessions, crashes, pandemics, these banks do something extraordinary. They create money, not by printing stacks of cash, but by typing numbers into existence. With that newly created money, they buy government bonds, the very debt we talked about earlier. This process has a technical name, quantitative easing. But in plain terms, it's the system buying its own IOUs to keep itself alive. Imagine a patient whose heart is failing, and the hospital installs a machine that pumps blood for them.